Good. Normal Wednesday, so get cranking away. A lot of work to get done, and nice day to do it.
Your kicker making his way west?
Yeah. He should be here, I think, tonight. Yeah.
So you don't have to take any steps to prepare for any issues with him, or you're
Yeah, no, we'll be good.
confident?
Yeah, I think he's on the plane right now, coming back. So.
What's it like defensively going from Rogers to Jackson? It seems like two significant challenges.
I'd say another significant challenge, just like it was last week. This guy is extremely talented, really in all facets. His winning percentage, since he's been a starting quarterback, is around 75%, which is one of the tops. Make plays with his arm, make plays with his legs. He's a dynamic player. He's one of the best in the league.
Brian, is it hard, this team has an identity now. Is it hard to imagine this team without Wink here? There was a time early in your tenure when it was going to be somebody else as the defensive coordinator.
Yeah, never thought about it, Tom. I'm glad he's here. I think we have guys that work really hard. Wink, Kafka, T-Mac do a good job of leading their respective units. Never thought about it.
Brian, what was the process like? So you get the job, obviously, and I'm sure you had the coordinators in mind, and Pat was there, right? So what was the thought process like going through all that? Did you have a list in your head of 5-6 guys and Wink on that? And how'd that all go?
Yeah, you always do when you're getting ready for those things. But when Pat decided to go to the Raiders, we interviewed Wink along with a bunch of other guys, and felt he was the right fit, and he's done a good job.
How did Daniel come out of the game, and do you expect him to be completely 100% this week with the ankle?
He came out good. Yeah, I think he'll continue to make progress, but yeah, he came out good. He feels better today than he did last Wednesday.
How about Saquon?
Saquon, relative to today, yeah, he'll be out there practicing today. Probably limited role, but hopefully we'll be okay.
For Wink, back on Wink for a second. How much do you sense that this game has a lot of meaning to him? Or
I don't. We talk about it. Not just this week, but when you're in the league, as long as some of us have been in the league, you're bound to be on different teams and play against different teams, players too. So I think our focus is just getting ready to play this week, trying to come up with a good plan for their offense, for their defense, for their kicking game. I think we're all pros. We've all been on different teams. We've played against teams we've coached or people we've worked for. So I think it's status quo.
What do you say about the injuries? You guys constantly have people going out. The ones that you've brought in, that they're able to step up and just kind of meet the moment.
Yeah, one, credit to those guys for picking up our system as quick as they can. Two, I'd say the position coaches that work with them, just for example, like Jerome, and Trier, Mike, both those guys done a great job. We got Lane and McLeod out there that haven't been with us for a while. So again, always give credit to the player first, but then there's a lot of extra meeting time besides the big main team meetings, if you will, to try to get those guys as comfortable and as ready as they can be.
What do you see from those positional coaches, like in those meetings, or the discussions that you have with them after, why it's so successful?
How, like after they meet with the guys?
Yeah.
Well, you just, as a head coach, you're just asking them, does this guy understand exactly what he needs to do if we put him out there? You explain to the player that's the expectation, is to, whenever you get here, to start digging in, not just how we do things, again, with the playbook, but how we do things in our building. So I'd say, the support staff, people like Laura Young, that kind of explain everything that we do around here and what we're supposed to do, how we're supposed to be, and then the position coaches who spend, a lot of extra time. Again, that's our job as a coaching staff, is to get our guys ready to play.
How much have you adjusted maybe with the offense? Your vision for it was when you start putting it in the spring and even in camp to what you guys are actually running now, and it's been successful.
Sure, I'd say that's a continual process. I said it earlier in the season. You go out there, particularly a new staff with new play callers, and the players are getting accustomed to the play callers are getting accustomed to players. I think you're always tinkering on things, Dan. By no means are we a finished product. We we do that. We look at our tape. We say, boy, that doesn't look real good. Let's kind of transition a little bit more towards this. Maybe add some new things. But you're always trying to develop as the season goes on, all the way through to the end. But particularly in the early part of the season, I'd say that happens a lot.
Brian, as you're evaluating and building that offense, do you see opportunities to get Saquon even more involved as a receiver in the passing game, or are teams kind of taking that away from you guys?
No, I'd say we try to get, if we think he's a good player, obviously we think Saquon is, you can, unless you're calling a screen pass or obviously a handoff to the particular, exactly where it's going. In terms of the passing game, if it's not a screen, there's usually, between 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 options based on the protection. So we've used him, I'd say, in a variety of roles, along with a lot of other guys too. But again, our job is to figure out what our guys do good and try to, put them in those spots.
Brian, in terms of the guys who didn't play Sunday, I guess Flott, Tony, Galladay, Aziz, Wandale, they're going to practice today?
One at a time?
Oh,
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yep.
Flott and
Flott will not practice today.
Tony.
Tony, which Tony?
Kadarius Tony.
Tony, he will not practice today.
Kenny Galladay.
Will not practice.
Aziz and Wandale.
Aziz and Wandale will both be limited.
Tony Jefferson's here?
Tony will not practice today.
Is it injured?
It is. Yep.
Slater's doing that all from them, too. That's pretty good.
Well, I looked at the phone. I looked at the injury.
What about Leonard?
Protocol?
Tyrod will be limited today. We'll kind of transition into normal practice after today, hopefully.
Leonard Williams?
Leo will be limited. Yep. But trending upward. A lot of those guys are getting better. So we'll see.
Is your receiver situation sustainable? I mean, you brought in a guy to the practice squad. You seem to have some guys with some potential long-term issues. Can you go on like this without bringing more people in?
Yeah, I think the guys we put out there did a really good job. Were where they were supposed to be when they were supposed to be there, made plays on the football. Marcus has really come along. I think Coach Groh has done a good job with him. He had some familiarity with him. Has a good skill set. And then, proud of the way Slay competed and produced. So Richie's done a great job for us all year, so feel confident in those guys.
Brian, it seems like you've had a trust and a confidence in Daniel Bellinger almost from the start. He seemed to be in line to be the starter right away and kept that way. What was that true, and what have you seen since then?
Yeah, I think he's come a long way, and he'll be the first to tell you he still got to keep on improving. But I'd say he's a tough-minded individual. Tight end is a difficult position to go from college usually to the NFL. We ask him to do quite a bit. I've been very happy with how he's approached things. I've been on him pretty early on. I was having coached the tight ends for a little while too. Brandon Brown, Tim McDonald did a great job of scouting him coming out. They were huge proponents of him during the draft process, and then as we got to know him, what he stood for, some of the intangibles that we look for, he's done a good job. And we've asked him to do a variety of things, and he gets a little bit better each day. But again, it's a tough position. They all are, but it's a tough position to go from college right away to the NFL. And give Brandon and Tim some credit too of they really stood on the table for him and when they did their evaluations.
Right, because when you look at his college production and everything, it doesn't scream this guy's going to be a big time receiver or anything like that.
Yeah.
Is there meat on the bone for him in that?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we still got a long way to go. Yep.
Brian, when you talk, obviously he asked you about the emotional factor for familiarity with Wink and when you go against other teams that you play, but there's also a schematic thing, I would imagine, for you guys. I mean, they know him well, he knows Lamar well. How much do you talk about that early in the week to know that?
You have conversations, again, just like wherever I was at. If there was somebody on that team before, you always have conversations, try to pick up as much as you can, but at the end of the day, you got to put a good plan together, and it comes down to executing on the field. And I could ask them all I want about Lamar Jackson, but I mean, we got to do a good job. It's hard to stop them. Not many teams do it.
How you know, you're evaluating Daniel throughout this whole season, obviously, to see what his future is going to be here. How much did last week, handling the injury, playing that game, leading that drive without Saquon on the field, how much does that all up his stock a little bit in that process?
Yeah, I don't know if I just look at it from how he's been since we've been here with OTAs and the things he's done to get better. Again, I've said it ad nauseum. He works as hard as he can. He comes in. He does a great job with the players around him of leading them, of helping them with the offense. And you know, each week I think you get a little bit more comfortable. Again, we're 5 weeks into really live competition, so I think you learn a lot about players, not just Daniel, but everybody. And he's done a good job for us.
Two more.
You guys go with Adoree. Where is he at?
Adoree will be limited today.
Dave, when you're here because this had been a losing organization for a number of years, obviously. I'm curious what you've seen from your team, your locker room, now that it's winning.
Well, I wasn't here. Kim, I just try to work this week. That's really what I try to do with the guys too. I think.
Some guys don't handle winning well, though. You know, they're a little bit immature. Yeah. It's new to them, whatever.
Yeah, you're constantly teaching them in meetings, talking to them about different things. The biggest thing we can do is go out there and have a good day. You can't look too far behind you where you were, and you can't look too, much ahead of yourself where you're going. You got to focus on what you can control, because I've said it before, this league will humble you very quickly, and there's certainly a lot of things we can do better, from a coaching staff to players, all of us collectively as an organization. That's where we're at. That's just what we try to do, is get a little bit better each day.
Brian, with Gillen, you guys knew he had a NATO passport going to, and basically you knew he might not come back with you, and everything was in the works to get that rectified?
Yeah, we knew everything that led up to where it is today, we already knew.
Okay.
But we'll see. Hopefully we'll see him tomorrow.